Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this first breakfast session by Bosch Video Systems. We're happy to see you joined in such great numbers. There's many people joining, and we're very happy with that. Let's dive into it. Today, we are going to discuss data security, and that's why I'm not alone. I'm joined here by Ruud Toonders. Hi, Ruud. Good morning.
Morning. Yeah.
Let's first have a look. Okay, who are you? Can you explain?
Yeah. You already gave in my name. So my name is Ruud Toonders. I'm working in the EMEA team, doing sales and marketing, but also have a little bit of knowledge about camera firmware, about our systems, what we do also around the cameras. And today that's data security. So I will give you a short update on that. So
I think you're underselling it, right?
Yeah.
A little bit more than a little bit of knowledge. Let's see. Let's see.
Okay.
So what are we going to look at today? We'll have 1 hour for the whole stream today. 30 minutes of that will be a presentation and a little bit of things that Ruud is going to show.
Yeah.
And then we'll have some time for Q&A. So that's where you come in. We'd love to hear from you. There's always an opportunity to ask questions. You see your box on the side. We'll get to that. So drop any questions there or answer the polls that we have there. We'd love to hear. And together with you, we'll make this a good breakfast session. I hope you're ready. I hope you have your breakfast on your side, or otherwise you're hungry for information.
Yeah.
Let's dive in, right?
Let's dive in. Yeah, a quick run through the agenda, right? So data security, we'll first start off with that. What do we do at Bosch? I'll give you more the generic overview on that side. Then secondly, we'll dive into one very nice detail, which is called the TPM, or the Trusted Platform Module. So we'll do a little bit more on that. I'll explain a little bit more on that. And then, we go to something which I think is very important to also explain on the cybersecurity certification. We have a new upcoming one, which is the IEC 62443. It's a mouthful, sorry for that, but it is actually quite important to also talk about that one.
Nice. So there's hardware, software, and together?
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of mix of everything.
Paints the picture.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Then first, before we start, the logistics. I mentioned before, we have room for questions. We'd love to answer your questions. So please, throughout the presentation, whenever you see anything that's unclear or anything that you can apply to your work or to your customers, drop the questions in the box. If you're watching full screen, then hit escape for a second. And then on the right side of your screen, you see a box similar to the one on the slide right now. You can ask any questions there. And also when we have a poll question, that's where the selections are going to be. Now, if you want to watch the stream in full screen, which I do recommend, then scan the QR code at the bottom on your phone, and exactly the same screen with the ability to answer the polls and ask the questions will show on your phone. You can watch the stream in full screen, and we'll go right ahead. Now, if for whatever reason the live stream would unexpectedly stop, refresh your browser. Otherwise, that would usually solve the problem. Otherwise, send a quick message to the email address that you've been getting the emails from as well, and we'll try to resolve that for you, for sure. All right, Ruud?
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So we'll start off with a poll question. In fact, so we like to know something from you. So that's already a nice interactiveness here, and we'd like to know from you, how important is data security for your customers? So it's an interesting poll question to ask. Please try to see how you can, how you would answer that and how you would rank that from that standpoint.
Exactly. And I see people are already finding the buttons. Again, they are on the right side of your screen, and otherwise on your phone if you scanned the QR code. There's 4 options there. And I think, Ruud, you are the man of the hour. There's more and more questions coming your way. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. I think data security is an important topic. So we, as Bosch, we do a lot on data security, and we try to also invest into our products and keep that up and running, right? So it's not a tick box you simply have on a product. Simply saying, okay, now something is data secure, let's stop all the work. No, it's a continuous effort. It's a process from that standpoint. Yeah, so we do a lot there, and it's getting even on to higher levels even, I would say, compared to a few years back. So we're continuously investing and improving from that side. So that's important to see. And already, I'm looking partly to the screen and the poll results coming in.
We can see it already.
Yeah, it's a very nice compliment also, Gert, at least that we are doing something which is making sense and also is perceived by our customers, which is quite nice to see that.
Exactly, because what we see indeed, I think if you add it together, over 90% of the people say that it's at least pretty important. Most of them saying it's very important.
Yeah.
Which is very nice because we'll be learning a little bit more about it. You'll be teaching us. And I think for the people that indicated not important yet, let's try and convince them and see why it's important.
Exactly, exactly.
You can take the control and take us through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's dive into it. I would say. Yeah, we to start off and to introduce a little bit into the topic, we have what we call the Simply Trusted campaign. So under that umbrella, we have 4 topics. So we have 4 topics like the first one, 5 years warranty. Okay, you want to have peace of mind if the product breaks, that somehow the manufacturer is having your backup and that you can simply get that product up and running again. So yeah, 5-year warranty, we have advanced exchange, we have a lot of different features under that side as well. So yeah, it's a very good thing to have. Yeah, security by design. So we have a lot of features in the cameras which we can set up, which we can enable for data security parts. But as well, we develop our systems also with data security in mind. So we try also to look at how we develop and then also do a pen test as soon as we generate a firmware, for example. So everything which we generate, we try to also let verify by others and to see that we have it secured by design. So yeah, we're ready to connect. So we have a lot of cloud connectivity as well, even already in the camera. And that cloud connectivity is helping as well data security. So that is a very helpful part because yeah, a connected camera is a secure camera from that standpoint. Yeah, and then we also have a lot of certifications which we have. So to make IoT security and bring IoT security from that sense. So yeah, we don't say ourselves, okay, yeah, we are very secure. No, we also let others prove that. So that's very important to have.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, diving into the first one, 5 years warranty. So we have 5 years and we changed that end of last year already. So all the fixed optical cameras and the fixed part of the moving cameras are now actually moved last year from 3 to 5 years. And that gives a lot of peace of mind, I would say. So yeah, as mentioned, our warranty plans, they are quite extensive. We also, we try to make reliable products, of course, and therefore that makes us also able to simply state, well, okay, these products, we trust in them, we believe in them ourselves, so therefore we picked up everything and brought it as a standard 5 years. So that's an important one, I would say, first of all. Yeah, and yeah, the systematic approach is as well, I mentioned that already. So data security, yeah, it's not just a tick box, right? So you need to really see it as a process. And nowadays it gets more and more important. You hear all kind of different issues lately with data security, companies being hacked. Yeah, and then of course the situation is that a system or a site is taken offline. There are dangers there because there are penalties involved. You need to then have a lot of work to get everything back online. Yeah, so that peace of mind is also very important, right? To find that back, okay, you have a product, you have a solution, and all of this combined together is giving you a data secure solution. And on the end of the day, as soon as something is data secure, then you have peace of mind. So that's a very important approach here. So yeah, we have a lot of data security features, so we're diving into details already. And some of them are very basic and very simple, I would say. So, okay, yeah, you have secure connections, of course, a password enforcement. Okay, we all know that in the past, this was not mandatory. As soon as you didn't know a password of a certain manufacturer, you Google your password, then you find the default password, and then you're into a camera already. Yeah, simply the port security, right? So that you can also run through that and set that up. But also some extensive ones, which are, for example, the Tpm, and we'll dive more into that. So we have a lot of different security measures and features which are enabled into the camera. So, and it's up to you to simply use that and utilize these kind of security features. So, yeah, there's a lot of different solutions we simply have with that.
And this password enforcement, do I understand it correctly that a lot of cameras, if you didn't change it in the past, and maybe they're still out in the market somewhere, they had a standard password?
Well, actually, it's a thing. If they are already deployed in the field, yeah, they will maintain their password. So your password policy, which you have on that very moment, that is something which is there. However, if you factory default that particular camera, then you are also forced into do a password. In the past, you simply took a camera out of the box, the camera you give power, and then, okay, good, you have a connection, you see video, all these kind of things. Nowadays, the password enforcement means, okay, as soon as you power up the camera, you take it out of the box, then basically you need to enter a password. And you need to then enter a secure password. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is not doing the trick. So you need to have a very strong password to already enter at the beginning and to make sure that everything is set up in the correct way.
Which is crucial. Yep.
Yeah. And these are simple things to mention, but they are so important to have as well, because yeah, they are quite necessary to deploy as well and to force that in. So. Yeah, these things we have more extensive ones which are here in the list. For example, our firmware signing. Okay, our firmware is signed with a digital signature. So editing our firmware files, for example, is blocking and crippling the firmware in such a way that you cannot upload it to the camera anymore. Okay, and that goes quite far, and that also comes back to our data security policy. So a beta firmware or other firmwares even, they are even not signed. So you cannot get them into your generic camera. So for testing, yeah, that is not working unless you have a signed version from Bosch, right? So it goes quite far into our development scheme as well. So yeah, security by design, yeah, we try to really push that and also set a little bit of an example there in the industry. Okay. Yeah, and as mentioned already, yeah, so security by design and the hardening in that sense, we have a lot of different features. And all these different features, yeah, we have them into the camera. So the camera has that. You can enable 8021X, you can deploy certificates. You can also, let's say, enable different protocols into the camera. So you can have it. The full functionalities are there because we have a very extensive firmware into our camera with a lot of different functionality. But every protocol you enable also has a vulnerability with it, right? So that also gives you maybe even an attack vector there. So what we have in our toolset as well is that we do a little bit of security grading with that. So we can do some security hardening already with the camera. And yeah, maybe I can show you that with a laptop. In fact, and just show you how that particularly looks like. So we have a software tool which is called the Configuration Manager. So a Configuration Manager, a very easy tool to configure any Bosch camera, free of charge, no cost. And yeah, with this tool, yeah, you can simply configure a camera. You can batch configure cameras in multiples even. So free tool with you can use it with every Bosch camera. And yeah, it's very nice and very, very powerful, I would say. In this example, I'm connecting quickly over our remote portal. So that gives me a connection to some of the cameras which I have. And yeah, one of the cameras here, I will take the first one from the list. And let's look at how secure this camera is. Okay, it's not the latest greatest, but it's at least running on the latest firmware. That's already something. But if I go to network and I go to the network services part here, I get a security grading of how secure this particular camera is deployed.
The warning signs don't look great.
Exactly, Dan. So the red letter F is not giving you high hopes that we have really something very secure here. And yeah, why is that? We can scroll to the list and yeah, it's already clear. We have HTTP enabled here on this camera. Okay, and HTTP is a little bit unsafe, right? So it's not a secure connection from that side. So yeah, we can opt for, okay, let's disable that. So that already takes away the warning. Okay, we have our proprietary communication protocol, which is called RSP+. We can also disable that, for example, right? So HTTPS, we keep it because yeah, that would be nice to at least securely connect to the camera. Yeah, okay, there's also SNMP enabled on the camera. Do we need that? Maybe not. Maybe I'm not using that protocol. And then I can also disable that. Okay, there's iSCSI also. Yeah, this camera is recording at this very moment. If it's recording, you can leave it enabled. If it's not recording, well, let's disable it then. And yeah, the NTP server, yeah, we also use a different NTP or a time synchronization for this camera, so we can also disable that. And then already you see that the protocol support, because if I here click on certain parts and the legacy protocols, you see clearly that protocol support and legacy protocols here are below already in a grading system, right? So it shows you even here what kind of protocols there are. And as soon as you reach here a level over the AD level already, then you clearly see that things are changing and in the more beneficial side of it. So you get more secure by disabling this kind of protocols. So let me continue and go through that. So here you see the legacy protocols fully green. Okay, I disable that. The streaming protocols, yeah, there's RTSP enabled. Okay, RTSP is also not a secure connection. It is not over certificate handling or is employed with that. So yeah, the advice is here as well. If you don't need it, maybe we can disable that. So disabling that will also bring the protocol support in green. Yeah, and then there's a lot of, let's see if we have something gained. No, we're still on F. We're still on F.
That's
and
okay.
The reason for that is because we have a lot of discovery protocols still enabled. And with all these discovery protocols, you can find the cameras, but you can also ping a camera. And pinging a camera, okay, it's okay. You can then find what kind of IP address this camera is. Yeah, and that is also helpful from time to time to see and find that particular camera, but it's also an attack vector. So that's the essence of it. So what you can do is you can disable ping. Yeah, UPnP discovery. Oh yeah, let's disable that one. We also don't want to have that one. Okay, OnViv discovery, let's also not have that one. And then RSP plus discovery, we can also disable that. And then all the bars are now in green. Okay, and that means that we have now a better security on this particular camera. And we're still on a security B, which is already quite good. There are some things which I already know of, because there are some passwords, because it says, okay, if you're using a password to log into this particular camera, yeah, well, it is not the most secure way. You nowadays also have the way that you can log into the camera using a certificate. It might be more secure, that is what it's saying. It also says, okay, there's a certificate uploaded, and that certificate has only 1024-bit key length. That's maybe also not the best one. So, yeah, from that side, there are some certificate parts here, which the camera suggests, okay, let's upgrade that. But already with a few tick boxes and with a few things, we were able to simply make this camera much more secure. So that's the essence of it.
Yeah, and what I see, so you don't, the message is not that you disable everything, right? You disable the things you don't need.
Yeah, exactly. So this is really the security hardening. So you harden the camera by disabling what you simply don't need. And that gives you a lower level of attack vectors to enter and use, let's say, attack this particular camera. Yep. So that is the most helpful part. So yeah, so it's a cockpit overview. It is part of our config manager. It gives you security rating. It gives you some help. Yeah, I think that's extremely strong and powerful already to have that. All right, okay. Yeah, so afterwards, yeah, you can click save and you're good to go. Then these parts are done, and then you made your camera more secure. So nice. With a nice security grading B in this sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a nice overview and a checklist in a free-to-use app configuration manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So far for the demo. Right. So that was security hardening. Let's move on to a next chapter, which is called the Trusted Platform Module, or the TPM. And yeah, there what we are going to explain you a little bit what this is all about. So the TPM, it's a little bit of a difficult tongue breaker word, right? So Trusted Platform Module, it's a secure element which is part of our cameras. So it is safely storing the certificates and the keys for the certificate. And these certificate keys, they are so important because they are the level for the authentication and also even for the encryption, if you like to have that. But this is really for building up the secure tunnel with the communication. There's where you need to have these different keys. And then zooming in a little bit on the keys, which I'm talking to, which I was referring about. This is the key pair, and the key pair is consisting from a private key and a public key, right? So private key, public key, they are like a close together, right? Mm-hmm. So they are husband, wife. They are very much interlinked with each other, and the reason for that is that you have in a technical way. You can call this private key, and this is a little bit of a model, I would say, or an example approach, right? So it's even a little bit more complex, but let me explain you what this consists of. A private key is, for example, a very large secret number, and then a prime number only, right? So not a normal number, but a prime number only. And then you have a second very long prime number, which is then formed together. So if you then multiply these huge prime numbers together, then you get a public key. But with that public key, it is hardly impossible to reverse that back. So that prime numbers, to find out what the two prime numbers are, it is extremely complex, right? So you cannot do that. Humans cannot do that, and let alone machines also are completely overloaded by this task. So to find that exact prime number there.
And so I imagine when you say a very large number, it's not in the hundreds or thousands, it's in the many gazillions, right?
Yeah, it's a long length, so which we simply have that. And this is also the key length story, right, in essence, okay? So you talk about key length, you talk about 1024-bit keys, or 2048-bit keys, or 4096-bit keys. So yeah, these are the lengths which you typically talk about. Right. But yeah, that private key and the public key, they are very much interlinked together. And the private key can be used to create the public key, right? So, and the public key, you can then, let's say, use that to encrypt or to authenticate with a certain data packet. As soon as you then send it over to that source, then the private key is simply used to decode that. So that encoding part, public key, decoding, private key. And that is the way how it needs to be. And then for that decoding, you need to have these two prime numbers in that example to really decode that. In the good old days, this was called pretty good privacy, PGP. And yeah, you had this very long ASCII files which you could use to build up a secure connection. And yeah, in essence, it's still under the hood doing the same thing, right? So these long key lengths, and they are used to simply set that up in a good way. But there's a lot of magic on this happening behind the scenes. But the key, the interesting part here is that you need to have this private key and a public key. And your private key, as soon as you lose your private key, then your data security is crippled, right? So, because in essence, as soon as I can steal your private key, for example, Dan, then I can already start up a connection because I already know how to set up the communication with you, right? So I can do a sort of a man-in-the-middle attack. And then, okay, I'm in full control of your system. Exactly. So the worst thing what can happen is that you lose your private key.
It's like giving out your passport in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So therefore, our private key is stored into a sort of a digital safe. Okay, so this is a key vault for the private key. So in our cameras itself, we have this trusted platform module. This trusted platform module is used to store that private key and safeguard the private key. So only our firmware is able to get into that safe. And as soon as I simply have a camera and I take the camera home and then I'll start to, let's say, disassemble the camera and interface chipsets and all these kind of things, no, I cannot get that private key out because only our running firmware has the access to that safe. And that is so incredibly difficult to take that out. So I cannot use words like impossible, but it's extremely difficult, I can tell you that. Okay, so that digital safe is what we have there, and that is our key thing. We are at this very moment still the only product manufacturer who actually does that, and also is so proactive on this TPM. And we also are explaining that a little bit, what we do here. And yeah, maybe I can, instead of just talking about TPMs, maybe I can show you a little bit how that looks like. I brought here a camera.
Real life, the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, with that camera, I can maybe show you how this is done. So I very carefully extract the lens. And already this is a little bit preparated, I would say. So normally there's screws here.
Yeah, it doesn't fall apart like that.
It doesn't fall apart like this. So
you did your homework, very good.
Yeah. So, but I can simply disassemble the camera in a very careful way. And by disassembling this camera, we get really to the core, right? So we have a quick look under the hood. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, so don't try this at home. So all work, or practically anywhere. So this is not something you like to do and destroy a good functional camera, I would say. Yeah, but I can simply take off the hood here. Okay, let's look under the hood in the car. What we simply have, and just let me get this out of the way a bit. So here's our main board, so to say, and in our main board we have simply what we call this Tpm chip, and with this Tpm chip, it safeguards. It's actually this digital safe which is there, and that is an important part which we like to push for. So yeah, I thought it was nice, simply showing you as well. Yeah, this is what a Bosch camera looks like. So it's under the hood.
It's a digital safe, but it's a physical component, right?
It's a physical component, yes, exactly. It's a physical component.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. All right.
Nice to see the inside of the products.
Yeah, exactly. I think so as well. We all have to do that. So yeah, in my job, I don't get to destroy a lot of cameras, but only today I do that for you.
Great.
Right, okay, so TPM, that's basically how it looks like. Then let's move on into the presentation. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about cybersecurity and the certification elements in that with that cybersecurity. So we have actually a lot of different certifications that we're running. Yeah, and I'm not so objective, right? I'm here, I'm standing in front of a Bosch desk. This is a Bosch webcast. We all are working, of course, for Bosch. And yeah, I can have nice stories about how secure we are and that we do things very nicely. But in essence, yeah, it's not something which I can declare, right? It's much stronger to have other people stating that we are doing a good job. And therefore, yeah, with self-declaring, that's always a little bit of a difficulty, right? So, yeah, you can take my word for it, but yeah, like other manufacturers, we have a lot of German colleagues. They would, for example, disagree with the statement from the beer, right? As the king of beers.
Yeah. They
I don't know. Some of them would not like that that statement because they have a different opinion there. Okay, so self-declaring is not the nicest way to go, and yeah, therefore we go into a direction that we do this data security certificates, right? So we try to find parties and find standards to certify our products and to our processes as well. So yeah, we have then this security maturity model. So that's already what we have now. The security maturity model, yeah, confirms that Bosch is actually doing a good job there. We are mature, we are checked from all kinds of directions into our development side of things, how we develop the firmware, how we deploy firmware, how we do patching, how we do fixing, how we also instruct our customers to deploy data security. So these kind of elements are all in this data security model. And that's done and orchestrated by the IoT consortium. So the industry of IoT, the industry IoT consortium, the IIC, and they define that particular standard. So it's according to a framework, the security maturity model framework, and this is then being certified as well. So we have received a certification for this particular, let's say, framework and model itself, so the security maturity. So yeah, that's a proof, that's already something which we have, and yeah, that's a very nice element which we simply see and which we have already today. So this IoT security maturity model by IAC, is actually, is a very good level already, which we have, and we have that already accomplished today. But yeah, we're happy with that achievement, but there it doesn't stop, because we also continue, and I already gave you a little bit of insight there, with the IEC, the 62443. 62443, we build up this -4-1 and -4-2. A little bit more about that one. We are going through these different levels, and we expect to have the certificate latest by July 2022. So there we will have that, and then we even continue with the UL standard even. So UL 2900-2-3, also a very important data security standard. A little bit different again, doing a lot of penetration testing as well onto our products. It is a nice one, I would say. So because every time you do a penetration test, there are of course things which they like to find, so they will find. So and then we make our products better and better. That's simply the whole thing. So finding something doesn't mean okay it's bad, but it makes it better in that sense.
And these things live alongside each other, or is the one better than the other? Is it like a stairs? You start with the first one, and then the next one is even stronger, and the next one is stronger.
Yeah, they are a little bit. There are some overlapping parts in this. Okay. Because every standard you simply have, like the security maturity, also it overlaps a little bit with this IEC 62443. So it's not that we need to start from scratch. Already we can have a lot of things already in place because we already did that in the security maturity model. Yeah, but it always goes a little bit deeper. Also certifications and standards, and also of course the tool sets which are around it, is continuously growing and growing. So yeah, there we really see that things are evolving in a very nice way. Yeah, so yeah, it's an ongoing process. It's not, it's never stopping. Yeah, so data security, I already mentioned that. So it's not a checkbox, right? So it's the process which you need to have. You need to have the technology, you need to have the people, right? And then you need to check if that process is having the right policies and the right procedures. And you talk about technology, do you have the right functional security measures also into that technology? And the people, are they having the competence to deploy that as well? So these kind of elements, we simply see that is all important to deploy your data security in a good way. And yeah, that's also where IEC 62443 is aiming for. So this is the holistic security overview, as they like to call that. And IEC 62443 is coming out of the industrial automation area. So it is talking about the IACS. Okay, it's a little bit of a tongue breaker. So industrial automation and control system area, and yeah, but it's perfectly applicable as well to security and security cameras, I would say. And yeah, it talks about the operational service, which is the responsibility of the end user, right? So the one who owns the equipment. So then it also talks about the integration and the commissioning, so and the responsibility of the system integrator. And then it also is for us, for example, as a product developer, so as a product supplier, talking about what kind of standards and what we need to do on the product. So this all simply comes together in different chapters in this IEC 62443. A little bit in depth already. Then you have different chapters giving you the detail where you need to comply to. So -4-1 is the development process. The 4-2 is the security capabilities of the actual product. And then for the integrator, it is for the policies and the procedures, for example, on the -3-2 and -3-3 security capabilities of the solution. This is simply where the whole thing gets together, right? So that is the complete framework how you can build secure systems.
Yeah, because it's a weakest link concept, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you can have all kind of security features in the camera, but if they are not used or not deployed, and there's no policy to deploy them, then the usage of that is also completely gone, right? So your data security goes through the window.
Similar to when you have a strong password, but the person writes it down on a memo and then sticks it onto the screen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good analogy. Yeah. So sorry, I don't want to get too technical or too dry from that standpoint, But yeah, the 62443 comes in these different chapters. You have one general chapter, which is explaining a lot about terminology, use cases, you name it. And they are in this chapter 1. This chapter 2 talks about the policies and the procedures. And they are more for an end user. So how do you deploy your data security? How do you maintain your system? Because you don't do that only during the installation, but you also maintain it. As soon as you have a new product added to your network, how do you then also deal with that? The system integrator itself also needs to do that. And the system parts of it are then in this chapter 3. And as mentioned, from a component level, it's then up to the manufacturer to also have that deployed there. So these parts, you can see that in these different responsibility areas. Yeah, and it simply gets together. So in this purple box here on the screen, yeah, as a product supplier, we develop the product and we add it to and supply it to a system integrator. System integrator then simply, together with his additional capabilities, which he has in this chapter 3, he simply adds it to the system, and the asset owner itself simply says, okay, I want to have these kind of security features, and this is my policy to deploy that. Mm-hmm. So, and then you have let's say a secure system, right? So that's according to the standard, and yeah, it is all these different parts and elements need to get together, and then you have something which is then somehow which we perceive as being compliant according to this 62443. Yeah, it's a very difficult topic. It's a very dry topic as well, but it's a very important topic because I think that this is a teamwork, right? So it feels like teamwork. So we do this effort to bring that certification on our cameras, but then also it would be very nice if a system integrator also then simply says, hey, you know what? I also will make that standardization according to my way of working. How I deploy, how I do patch management, for example, on the system. So this part, we can then work together and simply make a total package, which is then unique as well, which is differentiating as well from our competitors as well, which we also like to do.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, then a little bit of the maturity levels and the security levels. I will not go through too much in detail here. But yeah, you can, for different system components, for different systems with different applications, but maybe also you look at different hardware in it. So maybe a central system is not having such a, or requiring such a maturity level, or is requiring a higher maturity level or security level compared to a certain camera which you are using there. So it can basically mix in the different application. So the weighing of how this is done, this is also on maturity level and security level. So it's actually into this matrix format to also push that into that particular level. So yeah, application, use case, that's all mattering here to build out and structure that. Yeah. Good. That basically brings me to the summary, to simply recap a little bit onto what we all explained here. Yeah, I think it's already clear to everybody that we have a 5-year warranty as a standard. This was a major step for us, and we have full trust in our products, and therefore, yeah, we simply are able to provide that to the market. So yeah, we have also a lot of different cybersecurity and a lot of hardening options. I showed you the config manager. Simply go to a Bosch camera, check your security grading, see what kind of unused protocols you simply have there, and try to, let's say, make them, untick them, make sure that you have your setup more secure. It's a very nice cockpit overview to measure your security level. Yeah, and so important, of course, this TPM. This TPM safeguarding your private key. Because if your private key is out in the open, yeah, you better start over again and you deploy all your new certificates again, because yeah, you're actually vulnerable from that standpoint. Yep. Okay, so that's private key must never leave the system in that sense, or must never leave the camera.
Biggest asset. Yep.
Yeah, and therefore this digital safe is so important to have. Yeah, and then this IEC 62443, very important new upcoming certification. and it's raising the bar for the cybersecurity. And I like to see more cooperation between system integrators and Bosch, and to see how we can, let's say, package that. So that is something which we all like. In July we have it certified. So then we actually can say yes on the -4, -1, and the -4, -2. The products are being actually certified. So
and then we can say we're not the king of beers, but the king of data security, as put by another person.
At least it's a confirmation that we're not alone saying that we do things in the right way. Okay, and that is important. That's what we all value. So you should not just take our word for it. So also standardization companies, they also are stating yes. Okay, this is a good approach. Bosch does things in the right way, and it would complement the solution, I would say.
Great.
All right, good.
Then, time for Q&A. I already saw some things coming in, but before we really dive into the questions, again, put them into the box on the right side of your screen. Sorry. We'd love to see your questions. I see many of them coming in. But before we go to that, we have one small next poll. I mentioned in the beginning, this is our first breakfast session, but we intend on doing this more often. If of course it's appreciated, we'd love to hear from you. But also, we'd like to talk about the topics that you want to learn about, that you want us to explain something about, or that you're curious about. So there's already a poll on the side of your screen, if I'm not mistaken, with a couple of options for the next session, which is going to be July 7th. Also a breakfast session, also same time, with 4 options. And then from the top of we see them already. There's video analytics there. There's the new FlexiDome Panoramic. And we have the next generation Autodome. And we have the option of saying visas, which is of course the newest thing we have, I would say, how to use this to advance your business. Last option there is other. After the poll, there's of course a field to leave your comments. If you say, no guys, talk about something else, put it in there. We'll of course take it on board and see what's most preferred. I see many votes coming in, so that's very good. Let's have a look. I think it's looking like there's a winner, right?
You have a clear winner here, I would say, yes.
Yeah. So video analytics seems to be a favorite. But it's also nice to see that there's people interested in the other topics. So, like I said, we'll also take in the comments that you put in the comment field. We'll put them all together and then see what's most preferred, and you'll be informed by email with the next invite what the topic will be based on your votes, and more details on the timing and where to register again. So that's great. Thank you for voting. Then, like I mentioned, Q&A, data security. You've been explaining quite a lot about it, quite some tough stuff, some very interesting stories. I think we all know the consequences that could be if data security is not right. I don't think we don't need too many examples. We all know them.
Yes. Yeah.
So there are some questions in the chat right now. So I see someone here. You mentioned the TPM, the Trusted Platform Module, right?
Yeah.
Is this available and present in Intiox cameras?
Yeah, exactly. So in all of the different cameras we have in our portfolio, we actually have a TPM. We already have this under the hood already for quite a long time into our portfolio. So we already are a believer into this. So already our common product platform 4 already had a TPM. From that side, we really are having that fully in all the different cameras we release and deploy. So all cameras from Bosch have a TPM. So that's your...
You get it free of charge, it's in there.
Yes,
nice.
Fully. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I see someone here. That's nice. They're looking for some help. So can you help me installing a system in a good way regarding data security? I think we have quite some resources to look at, right?
Yeah. And the only thing which we don't do is actually installing cameras.
Right.
So we love to sell our cameras and provide them, of course, to you, but we are not taking over or installing the cameras ourselves. However, we have a lot of material available into our organization. So there's a data security guidebook giving you a lot of tips and tricks as well to use, also some hardening tips and tricks, which are simply there. But also what we have is a very extensive training program. So we also have data security trainings, for example, to explain more what is important in data security, like I explained a little bit today but then a little bit more in depth, what you can all do in the different cameras. These kind of trainings you can find into our learning management system. but I think even we have some classroom trainings for that. Yeah.
Right, right. So there's lots of things to look into.
Yeah.
I see someone saying Bosch is promoting solutions like Remote Portal and visas, Remote Portal which you mentioned earlier. Does that not make the cameras less secure since anyone can access them?
Yeah, that's also a nice one. So you would say, as soon as you put a camera online, that it will become less secure. But the logic is actually opposite. So because you simply have the camera online, you can then monitor the camera in a very extensive way. You know that is simply online. You also know what kind of firmware level is running on that. As soon as there's even recording stopping, you can even also get the trigger for that. So there's a lot of monitoring and device management, as we like to call that, with a camera being online. So the cloud connections, they're also secure. We are also a believer of the secure connections which we need to build up there, right? So it would be strange to set up a cloud connection and then use the simple HTTP feed with that and unencrypted. So no, that is something we don't do. So the more a cloud camera or a camera connected to our cloud and to our remote portal, for example, is by definition a securer camera than one which should be offline. Yeah.
Right. This person sees many vulnerability incidents communicated, I presume by Bosch. They're saying, what is going wrong?
Yeah, well, that's also an interesting one. Actually, there's nothing going wrong. As soon as you have a vulnerability in a particular camera, that doesn't mean that things are wrong. No, we simply are communicating about that. Because we want to have people understanding that there was something happening and that they can also then update the firmware accordingly. If you have a high security site, you want to know, as soon as something is found, that you can take countermeasures for that. So we publish these vulnerabilities, and we do that proactively. We have their security advisories to do that and to openly communicate for that. Also, our vulnerabilities, as soon as we find something, we put them online. We create a CVE. This is on this website, mitre.org, you can find there. And there you simply look to the CVEs which are there, and then also in which firmware we fix that. So no, finding vulnerabilities is a good thing, right? So because then that means that there already is a countermeasure for that. There is a fix, there is a patch, you name it. You have a new firmware, you upload your firmware up to a certain state, and then you have it secure again. So that's an ongoing process which is always running.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to be critical, right? Because this person is asking what's going wrong. It's good to
no,
understand.
no, it's actually vice versa. Yeah. Actually, things are very right in that sense. So we need to openly communicate that. So,
transparently,
yeah, very transparently, yeah.
Exactly. One more. More and more third-party solutions are being built and used. How does Bosch maintain data security with these external influences?
Yeah, so the maintenance of the external influences, yeah, that's also a difficult one, of course. Huh? So yeah, the process itself, I would say, is where you need to look at. Okay, so new protocols which are simply added, new features which are simply added. We always try to simply make sure that this is in a very secure way implemented. So you can quickly get something working from a development standpoint, simply saying, okay, good, now implement a new protocol. And then this protocol immediately, works, and then let's deploy it on site and let's live a happy life again. That's not how it works. No, we simply have a feature which we deploy. That feature is then tested internally, also externally penetration tested in the new firmware release. And then simply we have it out in the open. So yeah, that's the thing. It somehow takes a little bit more time, right? So because that's the thing, as soon as you request a feature, it might be a little bit simpler. Before we actually get that deployed, it's running through a lot of extensive testing as well. Yeah.
Right, right. I see still quite some questions coming in, so that's very good. If we don't get to your question, rest assured we'll get to it some way or another. If we miss some information, perhaps we'll send it by email afterwards. Here's someone saying, is there any plan to use certificate authentication in Bvms to authenticate devices rather than passwords?
Ah, okay, that's a nice one. So that certificate authentication for the passwords, that's a nice feature. I don't know it from the top of my head if we can actually do that. But I will take that with me and then also see what we can do there. Yeah. At this very moment, the authentication and deployment of the authentication is simply also with that certificate management and the encryption level. The password level, I need to check that. I actually don't remember that from the top of my head.
Yeah, that's good. We're getting high-level questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Here's something on the small demo that you did with the configuration manager.
Yeah.
You showed, of course, we opened the camera and it was marked as an F and it was not quite secure.
Yeah.
And that was because there were all some sorts of unnecessary things enabled. Of course, the person is asking, why are all these features enabled if, in first instance, if they are not secure?
Ah, okay, that's a good one.
It's a UX topic, right?
It's a UX topic, definitely so, and this is a fair question to ask. So it's actually also, these are two company policies as well. So from Bosch, we simply are building cameras already for quite a while, right? So in 2004, we simply did a lot of IP products. We acquired then this company called VCS back in the day, which is part of Bosch. And that simply, they are still driving our IP backend in that side. So, and simply the solution grew. We had a lot of different IP cameras coming into our portfolio, going end of life and being added. And yeah, that means we have a lot of legacy sites as well. And these legacy sites, yeah, we like to also keep them alive and keep them up to date with newer and latest cameras. And that means sometimes you need to have legacy protocols as well into your solution. So to keep that legacy connectivity, yeah, we need to have this. So we need to have this, let's say, good old way of communication as well enabled. So you cannot simply say, well, okay, let's disable everything by default, and then simply let people select if they want to have certain things. No, we do that vice versa. So we do a lot, we enable a lot, but then as soon as you don't need it, you simply disable it. So because that makes it more easy to deploy.
Yeah. And I think also the grading that you saw in the configuration manager, it showed as an F and a red, but it doesn't mean it's fully not secure, right?
No. It's a helper tool, and it shows you, okay, we are using a lot of, let's say, legacy protocols here in this particular camera. Maybe it's also, this camera is an older camera, it's already online for quite a while, I must honestly tell you. Yeah. Historically, these protocols were enabled in that sense, and yeah, nowadays you would simply easily disable that, right? So, but in the past, maybe even somebody using that particular camera enabled some of them. But if, so now we can simply disable that. So yeah, it's a nice one.
It's nice. You can make it fit to whatever you need.
Yeah.
Practical question, which I think I can even answer. Is the presentation that you just gave going to be shared by email later? And I think for that, yes, we will share it. We will share the presentation, it will be made available, but not only the presentation, like Ruud mentioned before, we have many resources available, whether it ranges from trainings or from other things where you can learn and find information. We'll make a nice package out of that, we'll send that in an email, and you'll be fully ready to be data secure in the future.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I think we'll wrap up the Q&A here. We have one more poll as well. We'd like to do a little bit on how was this for you? It's the first one for us as well in this setting, so we'd like to learn. It's an MVP, as we call that.
Yeah.
So how did we do? Like I said, there should be a poll on the side of your screen coming any moment. Please do indicate how was this for you. Now, of course, this is only a multiple choice option, so if you want to share more feedback, just wait for the poll to disappear in 2 minutes. Send a message there, and we'd love to hear more and learn. And then the next time, when perhaps we'll talk about video analytics, we can improve on this, right?
Wow.
Quite some things going on.
I was a little bit afraid because this part of the presentation makes me nervous, right? So how did we actually do? But
yeah.
This is good to see that we actually are below the average level,
above yes.
Far above the average level. So that's very nice.
That's nice. So I think that's a compliment to you. You did a good job there. And
thank you.
Again, we'll share all the information so people can watch it back or at least read it back.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking forward for the next one, which might not be you. We might have another colleague there, another expert on the video analytics. We'll invite an expert there, and yeah. Again, for that session, it's the same thing. We'll be relying on your questions and your involvement. So thank you so much for your questions today. It's been very helpful to understand on what's important, what do we need to tell and explain. For now, I think that wraps it up. So thank you so much for joining this breakfast session. I hope you enjoyed your breakfast, or at least the information that was served to you. And with that, I'd like to wish you a very nice day. Goodbye.